the weapons, the weapon rolls this week for Destiny. And from last where I picked up, I was about to look at the weapons for the Vanguard Quartermaster. For the Vanguard Quartermaster this week for the Continental, we have Steady Hand, IS, Reflex Sight, and OEG. I'd probably go with OEG for the range and the handling. Then we have a Abyss Defiant inspired Continental with Focus Fire and Hip Fire. You can run either or. I'm more of a Focus Fire auto rifle person. Brace Frame for the extra stability. Even though it drops your mag, I'd go for the max stability. And then Armor Piercing Rounds and Persistence. This is a PvP setup kind of auto rifle. You could bring it into PvE, but I'd bring it more into a PvP scenario. Parthian Shot. Not god roll completely, but decent roll. You got Sure Shot IS, Red Dot, OEG rifle. It's really your call. I'd probably go with Sure Shot for this one. Sorry. You have Eye of the Storm and Take a Knee, Perfect Balance, or Rifle Barrel, and then Rangefinder. I'd probably go with Take a Knee, Perfect Rifle Barrel, and Rangefinder, so you could go for max range. Because I'd probably say this is both a PvP and a PvE pulse rifle. Next, we have Angel's Advocate, the scout rifle for Vanguard with range lens or OEG. I'd probably go with range lens here. Rodeo or Who's Next, Perfect Balance, Hammer Forge, or Hidden Hand. I'd probably say this is a PvP scout rifle because Who's Next is kind of very situational. I wouldn't use it. But if you're into it, I'd say go ahead. Because I'd probably use Rodeo. This Hammer Forge or Perfect Balance is your choice. I'd probably go with Perfect Balance. And then Hidden Hand. Next, we move on to How Dare You. The Vanguard Hand Cannon with Sure Shot, pretty good. Or Quick Draw. Outlaw or Partial Refund. Small Bore or Explosive Rounds. And Third Eye. Very helpful. I'd probably go with Sure Shot, Outlaw, Small Bore to compete with the whole range hand cannon meta, and Third Eye. I'd probably say this is a PvP weapon, but I don't recommend using it because of the whole pistol range meta or hand cannon range meta we are in now. You could use it, but I don't strongly recommend it. Next, we go on to the EX Astris, the Vanguard Fusion Rifle with Red Dot OAR, Mid Reflex, or OEG. I really doesn't matter what sight you go with. Then you have Battle Runner, Underdog, Perfect Balance, Accelerated Coils, and Hidden Hand. This is basically the same one as the Crucible Fusion Rifle that the Quartermaster is selling. I'd probably go with Battle Runner, Accelerated Coils, and Hidden Hand. Yeah, this is more of a PvP fusion rifles. Yeah. Next, we move on to the Teacup Tempest. Okay. The Vanguard Sidearm with Sure Shot, Quick Draw, and True Sights with Outlaw, Cascade, Hand Loaded, High Caliber Rounds, and Rangefinder. With the whole sidearm meta here, I'd recommend you all buying this sidearm because you could go with either Outlaw or Cascade, which both are very helpful for a sidearm. Hand loaded or high caliber rounds, which are also really good. And Rangefinder. I would overall, plus Sure Shot. Overall, this is not only a PvP weapon, but in my opinion, I say this is a god roll sidearm. I would strongly recommend you buying this for Crucible. Then we move on to the Occam Razor with Field Choke and Soft Ballistics, Close and/or Personal with Battle Runner or Battle Runner, Hammer Forge or Perfect Balance, and Crowd Control. I'd say this is this is a PvP shotgun, but it's not the strongest of PvP shotguns because if you stepped into my shoes, or looking at it from my point of view, I'd go with Field Choke. I'd probably go with Battle Runner, but Close and or Personal is good on a shotgun. Hammer Forge for the max range, and Crowd Control. You can use it, but it's not an overly strong shotgun. Then we move on to this week's 7 cents, the Vanguard Sniper with Synsys SLS-20 sight, Long View, and Tassis. It has the perks of Underdog, Life Support, Skip Rounds, Small Bore, and Take a Knee. I'd probably say this is more of a PvE sniper more than anything. Granted, I know people are going to say that Take a Knee is great in Crucible, but just looking at the stats all around and the sights, it's prompted more for PvE than anything. Moving on to this week's Bone Crusher, the Vanguard Machine Gun, which has Smooth Ballistics, Accurized Ballistics, and Field Choke. I'd probably go with Smooth Ballistics for the increased range and stability. Unflinching, and then it has Unflinching and or Underdog, Hand-Laid Stock for the max stability, or Rifle Barrel, and Hidden Hand. Folks, I'm probably going to say this is a PvP sort of machine gun because you can go with Smooth Ballistics for the increased stability and range, Unflinching with Rifle Barrel for max range, and Hidden Hand. Your stability is not the greatest, but it's something that's controllable. So I'd buy it. It's a good machine gun for Crucible. Next, we move on to disassembly required. The Vanguard rocket launcher with confined launch, linear compensator, or counterbalance or countermass. And it has Battle Runner or Last Resort, Perfect Balance or Field Scout, and grenades and horseshoes. The grenade and horseshoes are good for PvP, but the rest of it's it's okay for PvP. You could bring it in PvP and tell me how it handles in the comments below, but otherwise I'd probably say this is a PvE rocket launcher more than anything. Then we move on to the Future War Cult dealer. The Future War Cult vendor. I apologize for the spasm of words.
What you've seen out there.
And this week, for the arms, she has Shotgun Reloader. It's okay. Then we move on to the Whales, the Future War Cult hand cannon. It has True Sights IS, Sure Shot IS, and Quick Draw IS. I'd probably go Sure Shot because that's really good on a hand cannon. Then we have Armor Piercing Rounds or Quick Draw, Small Bore or Third Eye, and Hidden Hand. I'd say this is a PvP weapon. It can if you put Small Bore on, it can kind of handle itself in the whole hand cannon meta game. Yeah. It probably won't handle too well, but it will hold its own. Then we move on to this week's pulse rifle for the Future War Cult, the Watts, with MD reflex sights, steady hand IS, and OEG rifle scope. You guys know me with my OEG rifle scope. I'd probably go with that. Then you have Armor Piercing Rounds or Quick Draw, Hammer Forge or Feeding Frenzy, and Counterbalance. Overall, this is not that bad of a stat-based pulse rifle. I'd probably bring in the Crucible more than anything, because I would go with Quick Draw, Hammer Forge, and Counterbalance, so you can have perfect range and perfect balance. This week's fusion rifle for the Future War Cult, the Waiting. It has MD reflex, red dot sight, or OEG. You could pick between any of these. It's how you want to play. They both kind of do the same purpose. Then for the adjustable perks, we have accelerated coils or quick draw, small bore or unflinching, and Eye of the Storm. This kind of feels more of a PvP based fusion rifle, so I'd bring it more likely into PvP, because you could probably go with one of these two sights: accelerated coils, small bore, and Eye of the Storm. Then we move on to this week's scout rifle for the Future War Cult, the Wounded. It has range lens, OEG rifle scope, and ND reflex. Then we move on to armor piercing rounds or quick draw, small bore or triple tap, or crowd control. Overall, this is set up for both PvP and PvP, because you can go with the range lens. For PvE, you can go with the armor piercing rounds, and for PvP, you can go with the quick draw. For PvP, you could go small bore for the extra range, but if you wanted to bring it into PvE, you can go with triple tap. And then the crowd control, no matter where you're at, if it's PvE or PvP, it helps out tremendously. Then we move on to this week's Wormwood for Future War Cult, because everyone loves to use this gun. We have True Sights IS, Sure Shot IS, or Quick Draw. I'd go with Sure Shot. Then you have Flare Magwell, Hip Fire, Hand Loaded, Zen Moment, or Hot Swap. Overall, you could bring it into PvP, but I'm not. Truth be told, it's not the greatest of rolled palette or greatest rolled Wormwood that we've seen in the future. Next, we move on to the Future War Cult rocket launcher, the Warpath, with warhead veneers, soft launch, and hard launch. Another good thing on a rocket launcher. Then we have Flare Magwell, or Quick Draw, heavy payload or tripod, and cluster bombs. This is more set up for PvE, because you could probably bring this into Axis Stage 2, and it'll probably do a lot of damage, but overall, it's more of a PvE setup. Then, before we wrap this video up, we go over to the Vanguard and Crucible quartermaster or armor people. Unfortunately, I'm on my Hunter right now, so you can't see the other stuff for the other two classes. But these are for the Hunter right now. Okay, so let's just get over there real quick. Alright. For Mr. Shaxi Poo, for what he's selling for armor, he's selling a fusion rifle reloader setup. It helps out for all you fusion rifle users. It helps out completely, especially with this week's stacked up fusion rifles.
You know where to find me.
Then we head over to Mr. Cade. Our hunter god over here. He has a pulse rifle reloader arms, which help out completely. And yeah, that's the weapons for this week and the arms. Unfortunately, I'm not on my Warlock or my Titan to show you what the arms are for this week, but yeah, these are the weapon rolls. This is Nopefish Gaming signing off. And also, make sure to like and subscribe if you want to see more of this. And comment down below if you want me to touch base on anything in the game. But like I said before, this is Nopefish Gaming signing out.